Okay, so we're going to get going with map 1 of Deeper Down. So the intro music is created by Annicator, who is a game developer and who creates tracks in his spare time for fun. And he made a number of nice tracks that I thought fit slightly with the Half-Life 2 sound in terms of sort of style of music. This is obviously, I wouldn't say is very Half-Life 2, but it's quite a nice piece of music, and it implies sort of that we're heading off on an adventure, that something special's about to happen. It's I don't know, it just sort of hints the pipes going up and down sort of hint at I don't know, a greater adventure about to happen, which I really quite liked as a nice intro. And here we are in the first room, and the first room is really exactly the same layout as the room in Deep Down where we first started there. Hopefully you can tell I sort of started literally from the first level and started building from there and started cutting into it, removing and expanding on what we'd done before. I'm offering the gnome obviously for those who are so inclined to take the gnome with them along the way. I won't bother because I've got lots of other things to talk about. But really just sort of cut into a few areas, so went through the ceiling as you can see, and then through the floor, did some underlighting, just trying to make it a little more interesting. And I put the shower blocks underneath the bunk beds for some reason, which is weird, but an efficient use of space I think for a military nuclear silo. One piece of sort of guidance that I wanted to give myself that I've done on previous mods as well is to, for every room that you have, always put something in there to interact with, always put something for the player to explore or to take a minute. And it's really quite surprising during a lot of testing that so many players just charge on through and don't see. There are some players though who really like to explore, and I like to reward them when they do. And as you can see here, I'm just bringing up the well from the ring just for fun, basically, for no reason at all, but you explored and you were rewarded for that exploration. But yeah, I think it's just a good rule of thumb that whenever you're building a level, for every space, try and put something in there which is interesting, or something to explore, something to search through for goodies, or what have you. So that's my voice. Um, so I added my voice. I just raised the pitch a little to disguise it a bit and put some reverb on it to come through the come through this. I could have used voice actors. I know some who are quite good, but at the end of the day, when I was building it, it just made more sense to do it myself. It was quicker. The first golden gnome can be found just behind here. I didn't really hide him. I wanted that to be sort of something fairly easy to find, so that people would get the hint that these golden gnomes are throughout the mod. There's one for each map, and hopefully you can find them all. It adds a little more, I'll try and point them out as I go through here, and it adds a little more exploration, bit of replay value perhaps for some people. This lantern model, before I move on, was created, I asked Ed Vincent to create one, so I really like the use of lanterns in Left 4 Dead 2. They're very useful from a level design perspective because you don't need a power source. You can put them anywhere you want to through the entire level, and they make sense. And by giving it this kind of warm glow, it draws the player into something, letting them know it's either a safe space or it's a something useful, or supplies to be found there. So I wanted to introduce the lantern early as a new model for people to focus on, but also just to highlight the fact there were some goodies next to the lantern and hopefully make a connection there. This next scene I'm introducing teleporters, which come back into play later. This seemed like a good idea to sort of do the fly, where you're transported and merged into a horrific thing on the other side. As we see this here, they see the guy go in, come back out again. I actually saw someone else put this together in one of their mapping competition entries, and it was quite some time ago, but it was after I'd sort of come up with this concept. And I kicked myself because they got there first, but at the same time, if it's a good idea, then I think it's it's good that other people are doing it. It means it was a good idea, and so I kept it in there. We'll come back to teleporters later in the mod, but I wanted to introduce those combine teleporters. So, coming to White Forest, I wanted to have a much more busy environment this time round to give the implication that this is a proper base. I think the White Forest area in Deep Down was lacking in life in general. So put the antlion in. I got the Vortigern sweeping there from the train station in Half-Life 2. Another Vortigern further up doing some work. Then you got the rebels moving around, and they're moving between busy nodes, which I didn't really understand, to be honest. And Abraham Lee, Lonnie Boy, helped me with that and just did a quick pass and threw in some of those and got it working for me. So thank you very much. And I do think, as much as this was a creative effort for me in putting this all together, there were several other contributors who really added to it. So it was, to a certain extent, a group effort. But rather than putting together a team, I like the idea of, reaching out to friends who are talented and asking them to do a singular piece of work if it could be helpful or needed. And I thought that was quite a good way of working. So you don't have that commitment of a team, and you're not asking people to commit too much time. But if someone can do you a favour or just do your one-off kind of job, they'll do that. In some cases, that relationship expanded quite significantly, like me and Vincent working together on quite a lot of the models and that kind of thing. In other cases, it was just sort of one-off bits and pieces here and there with some people. So this is the random item generator, which I included purely here for nostalgia reasons. In this case, it produces a melon and a gnome, an old boot, and a baby doll. I've seen some people create 10-pin bowling with the gnomes and the melons, which is kind of fun. But I think if you give players the ability to create unlimited amounts of items, they'll come up with all kinds of crazy stuff. And I think really the intention behind this whole area was to really just give the player a safe sort of beginning to the mod, and to bring them through, just to have a bit of fun, play a few simple harmless games, and just to introduce it rather gently, especially for, if it's going to go on Steam, which I hope it will. There will be people who haven't played Half-Life 2 in a long time, so I think it's quite good to reintroduce them to some aspects of the game in a sort of a safer, less pressurized environment. So you see here one of the key bits of info. Debeat is a key word here. So off limits debeat headcrab infestation. My voice message, or the audio message earlier on, talked about debeat headcrabs, and this is a reference to Kleiner and his headcrab Lamar, where he refers to her as being debeat. But I quite like the idea of having headcrabs here running around. There's a section in Half-Life 2 where you head down after Ravenholm into a mine, and there's kind of sort of flame fires with headcrabs running around beneath you, and it gives this kind of effect where they're sort of ducking in and out of the light, and you just get glimpses of them like spiders. And because they're debeat, they don't attack you, which a lot of people misunderstood as being some kind of bug in the game, the fact they didn't attack you, but that was intentional. I quite liked it as being a non-threatening kind of whack-a-mole type, whack-a-mole in the dark, if you like, was the idea of the game that we're playing at the moment. I think people mostly got the idea. They were quite happy to run around and kill the headcrabs, and watch them running in and out of their torchlight and in and out of the flares. The flares are a bit overused in this mod, I have to admit. They are a very useful way of drawing the player's eye, and they are also, in this case, quite a useful additional weapon that the player can use to take on the headcrabs. So at this early stage, I don't want to give the player any other weapons, because I've got a weapon progression plan and various challenges that require only limited weapons. So I don't want to give them that. So the flares are quite a nice option in that respect, to just give an alternative way of taking care of the situation that's kind of fun. It lights up the dark, but you can also use them as a weapon as well. Incidentally, these crates, this slatted crate here, was created by Vincent at my request, to keep goodies in. We use them later on. But he actually created a load of fruit, and there's as well, like all this is custom fruit which he created, which you can squish and breaks up. But it's great fun later on when you hit it with the car, and the fruit explodes all over the place. But yeah, pretty good. I'm going to get in the dark. Okay, so yeah, more of the same, but it's amazing how many players are very happy to sort of spend time down here and just yeah, and just to enjoy clearing things out and making things better. Players really like to tidy things up, a bit like Tetris or other puzzle games where Breakout and things like that, where you just want to sort of clear everything away and make everything neat and tidy. So that's what I'm sort of playing with here. But obviously you could breeze straight through here without doing any of this, but yeah, for some reason players are quite happy to spend time killing all these, and then eventually obviously you're turning on the lights, and when you're heading back out, and this kind of idea of going through a loop and then coming back out again, obviously the light kind of indicates that we're back where we started. But the idea is it's sort of like a mini dungeon or an instance when you come back out again. I only used it here, but I quite like the idea in future. I might think about it for some other projects. The voice lines that I'm using here, obviously in this case he talks about clearing out the yard, which isn't entirely appropriate for the circumstances. There's actually a follow-up line, I think I'll say it in a minute. Yeah, maybe not. But the tone of the line is more important to me than the words, I think, for the most part. If I'm using a line from a game, as long as the tone hits the right mark, I think the player gets the message. It's a congratulatory, feedback line, letting you know you've done a good job, well done. So wherever possible, I use lines that make sense, but also if I can find something that almost makes sense but it's got the right tone, then that's fine. Here we got the gravity guns, plural. There's a gag there just about misfiring, but I wanted to imply the fact that I never understood why they only needed. There was only one gravity gun. It didn't make any sense to me. Why not make more? It's like whenever you've got a mod with a protagonist, be it a rebel or a combine soldier, people exclude the gravity gun because it doesn't make any sense narratively. But I didn't understand that, so I just sort of implied, right, in this mod we've got lots of them. That doesn't make any sense either, even though we are playing Gordon. Yeah, it was more just making a point there to the mapping community, maybe. That was quite delayed previously, the misfiring of the gravity gun, but people were kind of on their way over here and they'd hear it and turn around and see the aftermath, but they didn't actually see the hit, so shortened it and made it happen directly in front. I think it's worth it, it's fun. Okay, moving in, yellow crates. We talked about the crates that Ed had created. I wanted to imply here that yellow crates had supplies in them, as opposed to red crates in the next room, which contain grenades which go live when you break them. But these are mostly spread throughout the mod. They're everywhere, but they're actually hidden, hanging from trees and things like that above you most of the time. So keep an eye out and look upwards when you're heading through. See if you can spot some. Some of the golden gnomes are hidden in these types of crates, hanging from things as well. And then in the next room, as I say, we get the explosive versions. There was a bug, I just can't remember if I clipped this area or not, where one of these guys goes running in. They panic and they run towards the grenades and die. But hopefully that's instructional. It lets people know that the red crates contain, if you break them, live grenades will come out. I've put a few of them through the mod. Hopefully some people have used them tactically and had fun, giving them another option to take down an enemy or to finding just another way of engaging with the game. But I don't know, it's just a bit of fun. Mainly it came up because Ed came up with about 3 or 4 different colours when he gave back with the crate that I'd asked for, and I thought it would be fun to have different purposes for them. So that's how that came up. So yeah, that's about it for the interior of White Forest. We're going to move on to map 3 in a moment, or map 2 even, and meet Alex in a second. So I'll see you then. Thanks.